Hi, Jessica here. In this short video, I'll talk about peer review, specifically responding to a revise and resubmit. First, a reminder. Constructive criticism by editors and reviewers is intended to help you succeed, even if it isn't always polite. In my experience, and perhaps yours, the first read-through is always the hardest. It can feel like an overwhelming tome of how you have failed. And while peer review is biased, and you'll find contradictory recommendations, which I'll talk about a little later in this video and how to deal with that, it's also a system that's proven to work. It makes papers better. My advice: if you receive a revise and resubmit, do it, and soon. You've made it past the first hurdle, the editor, who will publish it if the reviewers agree. And you've made it past the second hurdle, the first review. They agree that you should be published if you make some changes. So make those changes. It's hard and time-consuming to review papers. The baton has now handed back to you. Mid-race, so keep going. If you revise and decide to submit elsewhere, you'll be starting at the gate again. And another thing, while you're under no obligation to resubmit, it is bad practice to take advantage of the time of editors and reviewers and then publish elsewhere.